to Turning Point, the real estate show that defines your edge by empowering agents for the future. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Gil Sperling.
Hello everyone, welcome to our fourth episode of the Turning Point show. My name is Gil Sperling. I'm one of the founders and co-CEO of Flow, which is a marketing automation platform for the real estate industry. Today we're continuing with our show. Thank you to all of the great engagement that we've seen and all of the real estate industry that has been logging on and watching our show. And it is for the purpose of trying to impart our experience and our knowledge, and through bringing on guest speakers who are leaders in the industry to speak about topics that allow us all to be informed of market trends and continue to progress the industry. And today we've got a great topic. As we know, there has been a global market pullback, and we want to know and understand what is the impact on the real estate industry, on housing in general, and of course to the agency world. What does it mean for agents? And we're going to be discussing that today. We've got two incredible guests joining us today. Jason Joffa, who's here with me in studio, is part of Lamna Bridging Finance, and Mark Buttress, who is the CEO of PropData, with who we run the Turning Point show. Welcome, guys, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Gil.
Yeah. Thanks, Gil, for having us. Yeah.
Cool. So let's jump onto our first topic, right? So just on a high level, this is what's happening in the industry, and let's kind of put out those numbers and start discussing it, right? So during the pandemic, interest rates dropped dramatically. That stimulated our economy. People could afford to buy, and within the bracket in South Africa of to 800,000 to 2 million, there was a lot of movement of property. But the interest rate is now increasing.
Correct.
Right? Inflation globally is increasing, and it's impacting us in South Africa. But of course, where South Africa has its own nuances and dynamics is that it's its own economy with quite a large unemployment. Jace, what is you're in finance,
correct?
Right? And what's your view on this? Where do you see it going? What's the impact on our market?
I mean, globally, I don't see this shutting down anytime soon. I think we're generally heading up for an interest rate climb. I don't think we're going to go back to those numbers seen in the mid-90s. I think we will go, a couple more percent, maybe 3-4% in the medium term. But it pushes a lot of people out of the market. I mean, you've got to look at inflation plus interest rates. What you could get 10 years ago, you just simply cannot afford. It's going to push the rental market up.
Right.
So it's a very, very tight market at the moment. I mean, you could see the numbers over there. And in such a short period of time, I mean, last year it was 0.25. We're looking at half a percentage increase now. So, there's not enough time to obviously adjust to such increases over there.
Yeah, so you mentioned the rental market. That's generally what may happen. It's going to push people out. People that have just recently got a bond are now needing to afford higher premiums every month. Mark, you deal with the top agencies in this country, in Southern Africa.
Yeah.
So what are you hearing? What are you seeing on the ground when it comes to this? And even from your experience over the decades, as these markets move, what are agents going to expect in terms of the movement of the market and what it does to their business?
Yeah, thanks, Gil. So what we're immediately seeing is because we see or house a lot of the marketing platforms and activity and the channels that these brands are using, we are seeing quite an impact on that from an activity perspective. So these people, these are people, buyers, tenants browsing for property. In the last month, we've seen anywhere between a 10 and 15% drop in terms of just general activity on stock and looking for property. So
and
it is starting to have an effect.
Sales or rentals, like
Not necessarily with sales. So that's what I was going to say next. I think we are going to see a bit of a lead time to how that impacts actual transactions at the end of the day. But yeah, it definitely noteworthy that it is impacting activity higher up the funnel, and we anticipate that will translate into some effect further down the funnel when transactions actually start to happen, and some of these impacts become more widely felt.
Okay, yeah, I mean that upper funnel sort of engagement is actually something we're going to talk about a little later, because part of the topic is obviously what do agents do in a market like this when it comes to their marketing. So it's a great point. Let's get back to it. But Mark, maybe we can jump to the poll that PropData ran. You ran it across your whole base. You can tell us a bit about your base and who may have entered it and so on. But here's the first results, and talk us through it about how agents feel when it comes to the interest rate hike, and any other insights that you may have.
Yeah, so look, we'll get into the actual responses now, but this was sent out to roughly about 19,000 real estate professionals who are registered users on our platform. Yeah. One of the highest responded to polls, so Amazing. That's interesting. Yeah. So it's obviously a hot topic in many people's or many real estate professionals' lives. We also had the highest completion rate of the poll, so people starting the poll and then actually completing it. So that's indicative as well. Mm-hmm. So, that first result there, obviously like 49% are concerned it will have some sort of, impact on the property industry. And I think that is the reality. I think if we're talking broad strokes, I think this is mainly going to impact on the affordable market side of things, as you've mentioned, the employment issue in South Africa, and then the heightened effect of the cost of living is obviously going to impact that part of the market more substantially. But that's again where we saw most of this growth happening coming out of the pandemic. So right. Yeah, but one thing I would always say is that these socioeconomic factors are always going to be around, and where impact is felt, so other opportunities materialize. And I think, as we'll get into discussions later, it's around agents realizing that, reading into what's actually happening and materializing in the market, and then looking for opportunities possibly in other areas to leverage the effects that are taking place.
Yeah. Right. I guess, Jason, you can tell us a little bit about your business and where the relevance is, but regardless of what happens in markets, I guess people still live somewhere.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. The one thing I also wanted to mention, which is quite unique in South Africa's situation, is the percentage of unsecured debt in take-home salary. I mean, it's much higher than anywhere else in the world. Typically, banks mark a credit line of about 33% max to take home. Over here, you've got more than 50% in unsecured credit lines, and with interest rates, and I'll go back to interest rates over here. That's servicing debt, which in most countries would actually be servicing bonds, which obviously allows access, more access into the market. So that's also pushing a lot of people out of the markets at the moment.
And when you say that push out, meaning that they default, they sell, they start renting, downsizing.
Downsizing, absolutely. Right. You look at also now the cost of fuel. South Africa doesn't have a developed public transport system. It's also changing the demographics of where people can work and how they can afford to get to the office, with people also going back into the office with the spatial planning of the 70s with townships, etc. People can't get in, so it's also pushing up the prices. For example, in Johannesburg's situation, in the ring, otherwise people. The traffic situation as well, where there's no investment into roads. So that also changes the demographics and the pricing of property.
Right. Yeah, so look, Mark, you mentioned earlier that when you're monitoring the activity across your websites, which really is an indication of people's interests and people's intent right, on the property market, and that's reduced, and that's I think this is where this is very relevant, right? So if you take a look at this next slide, what the power of digital channels, and as we know, we're all on digital, right? Good market, bad market, we're all engaging on digital. In South Africa, on the Facebook platforms, Facebook, Instagram, etc., there are 26 million South Africans who are on this, and they spend at least 2 hours a day, right, every day. And this is the channel where you'll always have an opportunity as an agent to get that upper funnel engagement, right? So more so than ever, this is a powerful channel to do so.
Absolutely. Also getting back to the fuel situation. Remember in the old days, people would go on a Sunday, drive around and look what was for show. People cannot afford to do that anymore.
That's a great point.
It's easy to just, I think it's much more affordable to just data, and go online and have a look. People can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Especially with because it's digital, your opportunity to immerse in content, to engage in content is higher.
Absolutely.
You've got videos, you've got and that's really where the engagement is. People
Correct.
stop and look at content that is motional and video.
Correct. And time is money. It takes time to go out and go and look at a property, come back, bring the rest of your family to come and have a look. Rather have them over for dinner and you go pull the property out over there, have a look at it, and it's much more efficient. It's a much more efficient channel.
100%. And whether you fully digitally immersed or you have it as a channel, as part of your experience until you buy or rent or whatever it is. And Mark, we're saying this market is creating a shift, right? There may be downsizing, there may be movement to rental, etc. Right? So and we do a lot of work with PropData and our kind of shared clients, and so. I'd love to hear your view, but an agent should always be active, right? An agent will always have some business through this shift, and I don't think it's a pullback on business, but it's a shift. What's your take?
Yeah, Gil, I can't agree with you more. So, I mean, just to reiterate what you guys have been saying, the efficiencies of what digital offers is obviously, it's unquestionable. But I think more importantly, particularly when you have these socioeconomic factors coming into play, it's important for real estate professionals to read into that, understand motivations of consumers, and actually use these platforms to speak to those messages. Because, it's one thing to say, efficiently to a homeowner, come get your valuation from me and I can sell your home. But you might need to read more into the motivation behind why they might need to sell their home. And more importantly, not everyone is receptive to the same sort of messaging all the time. So someone who may be under financial pressure to sell their home now because the interest rate hikes or the cost of living hikes might be different to someone who are only going to be affected by those factors, say, later this year. So you need to target different messaging to different types of people at different stages of the funnel. And that's something we try and impart on our clients all the time. So, you showed some lovely examples of automated ads through your platform with specific messaging. That might be very relevant to someone urgently needing to sell or considering selling in the immediate future. But for someone who may not be in market right now, as we say, but might be interested in just generally what's happening economically within the country and what effect it might have on down the line in terms of their home ownership future, useful content ideas around that real estate opinion on the interest rate hikes or the effect of things like semigration and work from home trends. These are all still contextually relevant and just a slightly different nuanced messaging depending on where people might be in their journey.
Right, and to summarize all of that before we move on, it's really about, as a brand, as an agent, it's really about keeping top of mind with topical 100%. Content, right? So we've discussed 100%. Till now what's happening in the market shifts, where it could go, etc. And as an agent, or as a property practitioner, you are about trust, and your brand is about trust, right? And so regardless of the market conditions, you are still there to facilitate and to provide trust. And these digital channels, your website, social media, is really where you're going to reach people to be top of mind as that trusted brand. And, that's really what we try and encourage.
Yeah. There was something I just wanted to also mention over here is in respect of the time it takes to sell a house, it's or a property for that matter, is much longer. We obviously work with a lot of conveyancers at Lamna, so we're able to monitor the entire conveyancing process. In the old days, the median would probably be between 8 and 12 weeks for transfer to effect. We're now seeing 3 to 6 months, and there's a lot more roadblocks. I mean, for example, we have SPLUMA, the spatial planning, and it's an act that obviously governs the planning of a property.
Right.
Particularly in Mpumalanga and Witbank and Nelspruit. I mean, you've got SPLUMA certifications outstanding for a year, which can obviously affect the transfer of a property. Deeds office last week in Pretoria, it was down for 2 weeks because of load shedding. And all of these kinds of things push the transfer process. Mm-hmm. And it changes the dynamics of a transaction as well. If something's outstanding for a couple of months, the affordability levels drop from the purchaser. The bank can pull the plug on that.
Sure.
It's very, very risky, and it's not a straight linear type of transaction. It's very much it's not green line in any way. Anything can actually happen that can change the process over there.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I think we're going to touch on it in a minute. But that's super valuable, right? And I think I just want to focus on one point around the next slide here, is the ability on these digital channels, right? So even I think there are two things that have come out of our show today. Is the content around the market shifts that property practitioners and brands can take this authoritative view on and comment on within their content strategy on digital. But the great and the powerful thing on these digital channels is that you can be dynamic about content and you can target, right? So, Mark, PropData's providing support for the website and the infrastructure behind the digital home of the agencies. And so you want to continue to drive traffic there. What we can do with digital, and you can tell us a bit about this experience, please, is with digital we can target the right traffic and we can retarget it. So meaning when those who visit the authoritative content on your blog, on your website about the market shifts, are people that have engaged with your brand that you can then move down the funnel.
Yeah, Gil, maybe just to speak to that. And again, it comes to targeting the right people with the right type of messaging and value, depending on where they are in their journey. But the example you've given there, we're doing a lot of campaigns with brands now who are really focused on brand awareness at the top of the funnel. They realize that there's a lot of motivating factors, socioeconomic motivating factors that come into play. And they want to be in the face of homeowners and people who are interested in property as much as possible. Mm-hmm. But like you say, targeting them with some useful content that may be of interest to them just generally about the property industry or their home in general, being able to track people who are engaging with that value, and then being able to retarget them with maybe more specific sales type messages when we understand some sort of trigger point where we know they're interested in either selling or renting or buying a property. Right. And it's connecting those dots through clever tracking and trigger points that you're really able to close the loop and get a return on investment for any media spend that you have. Right. So it's not just a linear type of solution you need to go for. It's a full funnel approach that you need to take.
Yeah, and that's where our two platforms actually work really well hand in hand. So with Flow, we've made it very easy to reach people at scale to kind of stimulate that top of the funnel with that content. And our platform helps to automate the creation of the content, the design, and so on, and lead back to the PropData websites, which then the two systems talk to. So just as we kind of nearing the time for the show, the last point I want to talk about is Jason, a bit more about your product.
Okay.
Right, and we've partnered on it together as Flow, and we kind of called it Flow Bridge.
Correct.
You know, and so yeah, maybe take us through it a little bit about what you do and how it, during these shifts, during these market shifts, where's the place for a product like Flow Bridge, which is powered by Lamna?
Correct. So we understand the frustrations and the angst points for agents, real estate agents, and the like. We know that marketing is expensive. We know that it has to be put up. So what we've done is we've partnered over here, and we've developed a product where we look at retrospective sales, and we're able to put together a working capital line or facility based on our credit expertise. As you know, we understand the dynamics of these properties. So we fund it just in time. You're able to have the cash up front. You're able to get FlowBridge credits at a discounted rate where you can fund marketing spend on the platform.
Right, yeah, so correct. So I mean, that's where, you know, what Mark mentioned earlier is that stimulating the top of the funnel, getting people engaged with your brand as the trusted authority is key. You know, and as you said, Mark, the engagement generally that you're seeing has reduced in a time like this. And this is what we're trying to do with FlowBridge, you know, again, which is powered and by Lamna's financial product, is that as you kind of bridge your commissions, we've managed to put that in a way, and you know, if it's used towards marketing to stimulate that engagement, to get you out there, to give you that top of mind status in your areas. That's what we thought of, and I think the timing for this is perfect.
Absolutely,
because we came up with this before the market shift, and it's just so much more relevant.
Correct, and I mean, we're seeing very nice uptake on the product. But agents must not look at this as a negative or a roadblock to their success. They need to look at it as a line to their success. You know, the problem with bank finance is you use an overdraft over here, and you suddenly get yourself into a hardcore position. You know, it comes like this, where we've built something that looks at the cyclical approach of your property sales. So it's up and down, and looking at you investing in the sales of your businesses.
Great, yeah, cool, guys. So I think that's about the time that we have. You know, Mark, so thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Maybe you can tell us a bit about when people can hear a bit more about the survey, because it sounds so insightful.
Yeah, Gil, so we're doing an actual quite in-depth audit of some of our people who've conducted the poll. We're doing quite specific interviews with them to get even more insight from on the ground.
Awesome.
So we're busy compiling that, and we're going to release it later this month in tandem with our newsletter. So look out for that. It's going to be a really insightful read.
I'm sure.
Some very valuable sort of insights from our clients on the ground.
Great. Yeah, great. Cool. And then Jason, thank you for joining us.
Right.
If anyone wants more info on FlowBridge or Lamna, I guess you can contact us, info@flowliving.com, or just give Lamna a Google. I think it's lamna.coza, right?
Correct.
And I think PropData, similarly, you know where to reach them, PropData. So great, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gil, for having us here today.
Awesome.